Hey everyone, so today we're going to be hello? Can I help you at all?
Oh really? You want to help me? Oh, I'd love that.
No, I didn't mean... Look, mate. Who even the fuck are you?
Oh, come on. Surely you must know.
No, I don't think I do.
Alright, I'll give you a bit of a clue. Stand the fuck up right now, or I'll teach you how to make an icon.
No, still not ringing any bells.
It's your biggest fan, isn't it? Of your YouTube channel?
My fans? Look, mate, I don't have any fans. I've only got a couple of subscribers. Honestly, who do you see clicking on a video with 2 fucking subscribers, mate? It's just not gonna happen. You're literally looking at a fucking pub gig. Secondly, it's sit the fuck down. Now, why would you stand up if I'm teaching you how to make a logo in Photoshop?
I don't know,
You wouldn't, would you? It doesn't make any sense. Thirdly, I don't know you. You've literally just turned up like an old mate, expecting me to go, it's you, one of my viewers. You're right, mate, come on in. It's just not gonna happen, is it?
I just wanted you to...
Want me to what? Take your bins out? Wash your car for you?
No,
what then?
I just wanted you to teach me how to make one of those sick intros you've got at the beginning of your video.
And you've come all the way to my house to ask me that?
Well, yeah, I just thought, because I watch your videos and...
Sorry. Let me get this straight. So, you think I would just invite a random stranger into my home and teach them motion graphics simply because they watch my videos?
Well, yeah.
Sorry, mate, but don't you think that's a little bit weird? You wouldn't get me knocking about Jamie Oliver's house asking him to give me a crash course on making a fucking jam roly-poly, would you?
Oh, come on, man. I promise. As soon as we're done, I'm gone. That's it. Your address will be a fleeting memory to me. Please.
Straight away, you say?
Straight away. I promise. I'll be gone before you can say...
Alright, just... Follow me.
Oh, great. I knew you would. I knew you would.
Alright, keep your voice down, okay?
Sorry. It's your stairs.
Would it shock you if I told you you're right? Oh, I'm actually walking up Eisu stairs. Why can't I just say no? Just once. Just once would be nice. Where'd you get that door? What sort of question is that? It was already here when we moved in. That's so cool. Not really. And this is it. Where all the magic happens. Alright mate, just sit somewhere over there out of shot.
Why? Because I haven't got a green screen yet. I can't just overlay 2 bits of the same footage and just magically get rid of the background. Just wouldn't work.
Have you heard of the roto brush tool?
Yeah, but it'll look like shit.
You could at least try
Can
it.
you just... I'm about to start. Look, do you want a restraining order or what?
Sorry. Okay, so to start, you want to obviously come up to new project. And obviously click new project, and once you've got this screen, you then want to come to file, come down to save as and click save as you come across there. Obviously you can call it whatever you want, but I'm going to call mine intro. And click save. And once you've got that saved, you then want to click new composition. Might as well just call it the same as you called your project, really. Obviously it's up to you. So yeah, once you've done that, you then want to sort of choose the size of the project. Now that I shoot in 4K, just to sort of match it with everything else, I'm gonna have mine 4K, but obviously you can use whatever resolution you want, 1080p, whatever. Yeah, you know, work just as well. So yeah, just make sure the frame rate's about 25 frames per second. Again, that's based on the settings on my camera, even though this is, you know, this is a completely separate animation. There are no sort of video clips involved or anything. It's just sort of best to stick to that. It's just a good habit to get into. So once you've done that, you want to make sure duration is about 10 seconds. Doesn't have to be too long. It's just a kind of good round duration. That gives you a reasonable amount of time to play with. So after you've done that,
said after.
Yes, and we use other words too. Do you want to quote me on all those as well?
But you're using After Effects.
Okay, this is your last warning, right, mate? Any more meaningless observations, and if I hear even the slightest hint of a motion graphic software pun, I'm calling the fucking police, alright?
Okay.
That's quite possibly the worst pun I've ever heard, by the way. Puns pretty much set the bar pretty low anyway, so that's fucking saying something, mate. I mean, there wasn't even a setup or a punchline or anything. You were literally just stating the fact that the software I'm using just so happens to have a word in it that I used earlier. Anyway. Right, sorry about that. So yeah, as I say, once you've got all that, you want to then click OK. And that will give you this blank screen. So once you've got that, you want to come up to Layer, New, come down to New, and then click Solid. And the colour I've chosen is just sort of like a kind of dark greyish, sort of cyan kind of colour. Just really kind of dark, because I'm going for a sort of sci-fi kind of theme. It just sort of works for me, but obviously you can make it more sort of green based or red based or yellow based. Obviously it doesn't matter at all, it's up to you. But for me, this is what I'm going to go with. I quite like this, so yeah, if you want to copy mine, you know, obviously you can copy the hex there. Otherwise, yeah, once you're happy with that, you click OK. And I'm going to call this BG. So just the background. Yeah, so then click OK. And once you've got your solid sorted, you then want to come up to the text tool. Make sure your font is Gotham. I'm going to again leave a link to that in the description, just so you don't have to go back to the other tutorial I made. Let's see, yeah, I'd say if you make it bold, make sure it's white, and make sure the size is about 197. So yeah, if you just click in a sort of blank part of the composition, and just basically just type your name or your company name or whatever really. So yeah. So once you got that, you want to come up to your move tool, and then you want to come up to the align tab. We'll come over to the align tab. If you don't have this, if you're not seeing this here, if you come up to window, and then you come down here, you'll see it aligned there, and you'll be able to bring it up. So yeah, once you've clicked that, you then want to click these two center icons here, and that will obviously center them horizontally and vertically. So yeah, once you've got your text in place, you now want to import your screen glitch effect or your screen glitch layer. Again, I'll leave a link in the description for you to download this. So yeah, once you've located that, you then want to drag it into the project tab down here, and that'll obviously import it. So once you've done that, you then want to drag that file down to the timeline and make sure it's above everything else. So because I'm using 4K, and obviously because this is a 1080p video, of course it's going to be half the size, but obviously if you're using 1080p as a resolution, then obviously you won't have to do anything. But for me, or you know, if you're using 4K, if you come down to your
down to the layer and just make sure it's selected, and press S, and that'll bring up your scale option, because it is literally twice the half the size of the composition. I'm literally just going to make it 200, and that will make it fit perfectly. But it doesn't have to fit absolutely perfectly, as long as it's just at least a little bit over the edge of the composition, and there are no sort of little gaps on the edges. It's absolutely fine. So yeah, once you've done that, you then want to hide it. I'll turn the sound off as well. I mean, there isn't really sound anyway, but it's just a good habit to get into. I mean, to be honest, I prefer doing the sound in Premiere Pro, after I've done the special effects. But obviously, it's up to you. It depends on how you work. But anyway, so once you got that hidden, you then want to come up to Layer, click come over down to New, and then you want to come down to Adjustment Layer. So once you've got your adjustment layer in place, you then want to come up to Effect, Distort, and come down to Displacement Map. So once you've got that, you then want to come up to this menu here, just under the Reset button, and you want to select the Screen Glitch layer. And as you can see, that's applied that screen glitch to the text layer. So you'll see that has obviously been applied to the text now. So yeah, this is obviously just the base of this is the very base of the effect. I mean, if you're happy with that, you can leave it as that, but obviously you can do a lot more than this. So the next thing I'm going to do is, because for me personally, I don't really want it all the way through. I want all this, this glitch effect all the way through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split it up. So to do that, what you want to do is you want to make sure you've got your adjustment layer selected, hold down Control and Shift, and press D, and that will split it up. So if you delete the bulk of that layer, or the bulk of the original layer, then you'll be left with this little clip here. So once you've done that, you then want to hold down Control and press D to duplicate that. And I'd say for me, I'm going to drag it somewhere around the middle, just so you sort of have a beginning, middle, and end for it. So once you've, I mean, it's obviously up to you. You can put it wherever you want. You can it's good to sort of have it kind of sporadic as well. But for me, I quite like the idea of it almost kind of transitioning into the glitch effect, and where you sort of have it sort of happen again in the middle, and then it sort of transitions out in the glitch effect again. So what you then want to do, if you're following what I'm doing, you can obviously copy me if you want to, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate that and put that right at the end. So what you'll notice now is, if you play it through, you'll get this glitch effect only taking place on certain parts of the timeline, so that just gives you that bit more control. So yeah, once you've got that effect, another effect I quite like to use is the RGB shift effect. So to create this, if you select your text layer, hold down Control and press D, and do this twice to duplicate it twice, obviously, and that'll give you obviously three text layers. So once you've got that, it's basically the reason we're doing this is because these basically represent 3 of the channels, the red, green, and blue channels. So if you don't know already, the way screens work, they basically use these 3 colours and combine them to make a picture, and that's sort of essentially what we're doing here. So yeah, so what you want to do is you want to again make sure that top text layer is selected, hold down Shift, click the bottom text layer, come up to Effect, come down to Channel, and click Set Channels, and that will apply that effect to all 3 of them, obviously. So saves you having to obviously do it individually. So once you've done that, another effect we're going to apply a little bit later, just to get it ready now, is the optics compensation effect. So again, obviously effect, you want to come down up to effect, then distort, and then optics compensation. So we'll have a little bit of a look at that later. So before we get onto that, what you want to do is with the top text layer, you want to, you see where you've got the three colours here, red, green and blue. You want to make sure for this top one, the red option is the only one that is on. So of course you're going to want to turn these other two off, and as you can see, it's obviously red. So yeah, you want to do the same with the other two, except obviously make sure they're the other two colours. So of course you're going to be turning the red off with the middle one and the blue off to make it green, and obviously the red and the green for the blue one. So yeah, as you can see there, those three colours. So yeah, once you got that, you want to again highlight them all. Remember, that's just, you know, make sure you're selecting that top layer, hold down shift and click the bottom layer, and that will obviously select them all. So once you've done that, you want to come over to where you see where it says mode. If you haven't got this, you just have to press F4 and that will bring it up. That will toggle between these other settings and your mode and track map. So once you've done that, you want to select the mode for the top layer, and because you've got them all highlighted, it will apply this to all three of them. So then once you've done that, if you click add, and that will combine them all. So yeah, once you've done that, you want to click the top layer just to make sure these next layers that you're going to insert are placed above these text layers and not just at the top of or above everything else. So once you've done that, you want to come up to a layer, new, then come down to null object. I want to duplicate that twice. Remember, it's Control D to duplicate. So yeah, once you've done that, you then want to highlight them all again. You want to come up to effect, come down to expression controls, and then click slider control. What you then want to do is you want to highlight all these text layers, press P on your keyboard to bring up the position option. So if you unselect them all, come up to your first position option, or your top text layer, and if you alt click on this little stopwatch icon here, this will bring up your expression text box. So I know it sounds a bit scary, but it really isn't that bad once you get the hang of it. But basically what we're going to do is apply an expression called wiggle. So what that will do is literally, just as you can imagine, it will give the text layer a little bit of a shake, a random sort of shake animation. So what you want to do here, you want to obviously type in wiggle, then you want to type the open bracket. I'd say put something like 5, and then comma, and then what you want to do is you want to select your top null object, make sure that's selected, then you want to come back down here to the text box and make sure your little blinker is just after the comma. Then you want to come over here to your pick whip tool, just the little squiggly shape here, click and hold and drag that up to the slider option here. And as soon as you see a white box, that's when you know it's targeted it. So yeah, then you obviously let go, and that will apply that expression to that null object. So in previous versions of After Effects, what we have to do is put another closing bracket there to close the entire expression off. But in this latest version of After Effects, CC 2021, it will do it for you. So obviously if you're using 2021, you won't have to do this, so you've got nothing to worry about. So yeah, then you obviously want to do the same to the other two null objects and just make sure they're applied to the to the right text layers, and you're absolutely fine. So I'll take you through this second one just once more, just in case you've forgotten or you get a bit stuck. Obviously you can go back anyway, but I might as well just show you once more. So yeah, remember it's Alt Shift and click and the stopwatch icon on the position setting. Put in wiggle, open bracket 5, comma, select the corresponding null object, come back down to the expression text box, and then grab your pick whip tool, hold and click, drag it up to slider, and you're sorted. So yeah, I'm just going to do this last one, and then we'll get back on, and then we'll get on to the next bit. Right, so once you've got all those 3 layers done, you then want to start messing around with these settings. So if you start off with the top layer, the top null object, I'd say make this setting something like 5, and then say for the bottom layer, I'd say something like 3, and then for the middle layer, I'd say around about 2, just so it's not in any particular order. It's not sort of smallest to biggest. There's, you know, some sort of randomness to it, just to make it a bit more sporadic and natural, I suppose. Yeah. So once you've done that, you can obviously preview it and have a look at it. So yeah, it's just a nice little effect to accompany this glitch effect, just to give it a little bit more life, a little bit more colour. Just makes it look a bit nicer and a bit more sort of sci-fi, I suppose, yeah. So yeah, as I say, it's just a nice little effect just to accompany the glitch animation. Just makes it a little bit more interesting and a bit cooler looking, I suppose. So yeah, the next bit, we are going to add the optics compensation, or, you know, apply the optics compensation effect. So for this one, if you come up to your top text layer, and then in the actual effect itself, in the little sort of setting menu here, you want to turn on reverse lens distortion. That will just reverse the sort of direction that it's being distorted, so it just in case you couldn't tell. And yeah, it just means it's kind of going the opposite way to the other one. So as you can imagine, for the bottom one, we're not going to check this, so it's going to basically be, you'll know what I mean when you see it. So yeah, so make sure that's checked, and I'd say make this about 45, something like 45 or close to it, and that will just sort of bring that out a bit. And so again, with your bottom text layer, I'd say something like 42. I think 42 should be alright. And as you can see, it's going the other way. It's hard to kind of tell from here, to be honest, but basically the top text layer is sort of kind of coming out, and the bottom text layer is sort of going more inwards, if you know what I mean. It just kind of gives it a bit more variety rather than it being completely, you know, exactly the same. So yeah, with that one, that's fine. 42 is about fine. Then for the middle one, I'd say make that around about 15. And I mean, you can turn that on if you want, but I personally prefer to leave it off. So yeah, it just gives you a bit more of that kind of natural feel, or gives the text that kind of more of that natural feel. Just makes it look a bit more sci-fi. So yeah, once you've got that, you then want to apply the radial blur effect. So you basically want to do the same to these text layers as you did with the optics compensation layer. You just obviously highlight them all, come to effect, blur and sharpen, and radial blur. So if you start off with your top text layer, and if you change where it says type from spin to zoom, and I reckon 10 is about fine, it's about alright, but as you can see, In fact, you know what? I think what would be easier, what would have been easier, is if you apply the effect to the top text layer, and then basically just copy that and paste it onto these bottom 2 text layers. So yeah, just literally select that layer, the middle text layer, control click the other one, hold down control and press V. Once you've obviously clicked this effect and held down control and press C, then you obviously be ready to hold down control and press V to paste it onto them, and that will of course apply that effect to the last 2 layers. And again, it just adds to that really nice sort of sci-fi looking, just gives it more of that sci-fi feel, as I say. So once you've got that, the next little effect I think is quite nice is just kind of adding a little bit more to it. So what you can do is you can add some little kind of codes on the side and make them kind of glitch and flash. So if you just sort of click anywhere, it doesn't really matter. Since I'm going to kind of put it in this corner anyway, I thought I might as well click here just so it's close enough. And yeah, I'd say make this the size about 8, and really just want to type a load of random numbers really, but just make them, yeah, if you just do it sort of line by line, make the sort of length of the lines kind of random. It just looks quite nice really. So just literally just randomly type any number, it doesn't really matter because you can't really see them anyway. So yeah, so once you've done that, you then just make it a bit shorter, make this one even shorter, and then just sort of go down in size and then go straight back up, but make sure it's not exactly the same size as any of the other ones, and I think you're fine. Yeah, I think that should be alright. You can obviously make it as big or as long as you want, but I quite like the look of this, so I'm going to put this about here. Then yeah, what you can also do is then duplicate it and put it anywhere else you want. I personally quite like putting it to the other corner, sort of make it a little bit more symmetrical. If you want to make it even more symmetrical, you can come over to paragraph and change the position, and that will make the text start from the right and finish or end at the left. But I personally prefer it to be the same direction as that. It just, for me, it's just more visually pleasing. So each to their own. It's obviously up to you, as I say. So once you've got those in place, what you then want to do is, just as you did with your top adjustment layer, which is of course the the glitch effect, you want to split these up. So if you start off with this bottom layer here, you then want to come over to the start of this clip of the adjustment layer, and of course hold down control and shift and press D to split it, and then basically do the same to the end of that clip of the adjustment layer, and then you've got your piece then. So if you delete these 2 bits, and what you can do is you can make it sort of flash quite rapidly. So to do that, you basically shorten it, duplicate it again, drag it slightly away from the other one or ahead of the other one. Make sure there's a reasonably small space between them as well, so it looks more like it's flashing and it's not sort of, I suppose, yeah, because it can look a bit tacky otherwise. So yeah, I'd say something like 1 or 2 frames. I think one frame works for me just fine for now, but yeah, something like that. So duplicate that one and just put it right next to it there. I think that'll do fine. So yeah, you kind of want to do the same sort of thing with your other one. So that's your top one just here. So just split that up. Obviously delete these 2 layers. bit shorter. But yeah, the key is just to make it flash fast, essentially. Just gives it that more of that kind of that sort of glitchy feel. Sort of adds to the rest of it. So yeah, something I forgot to mention before. Once you've made any sort of big change, it's best to get into the habit of saving it. So just to quickly do that, you hold down Control and press S, and that'll obviously save all your work and make sure you don't lose anything. I mean, if you've got auto save on, that can also be quite handy, but you know, if it's set to a certain time, it's not always bang on when you want to save it, so it's just best to do it manually as well, I think. So yeah, let's have a look at it. So yeah, as you can see, just got this little kind of flashing text at the side. This is just loads of little bits just to kind of add to the rest of it, and it all comes together in just a really nice sort of glitchy, sort of futuristic looking effect. So yeah, the next effect I quite like to use is changing the text in the main text, so you can sort of change individual letters and have them change as the introduction plays through. So to do that, what you want to do is you want to come down to your 3 text layers, and if you hide the other 2, just so you can see a bit more clearly when you're doing it, because when you start messing around with the text, it will start to they'll start to blend with the others in a bit weirdly, so it's just a little bit more difficult to see what you're typing, so it's just easier to hide the other 2. So what you want to do is, once you've got that top text layer selected, if you click this little drop down arrow here, and if you just come down to text and see where it says source text, if you click on this little icon here, the little stopwatch, but before you do that, just make sure you're at least a frame before this clip of the adjustment layer, because this is where you're going to apply the effect within this region. So once you've got the player head about a frame before that, you then want to click your stopwatch to insert your first keyframe. So this is the starting keyframe. This will make sure it starts normally, so you know it doesn't start off as the text you don't want right at the beginning. So it means you just have that bit more control with it. So once you've got that in place, you then want to come right to the beginning of that null object adjustment layer, sorry, and you want to just change it a bit, just sort of change a few letters. So yeah, it's up to you, it doesn't matter, you can copy me if you want, but it's obviously up to you, as I say. So but yeah, so 5 obviously depends on your text, it doesn't matter at all, of course. You can maybe change some of the letters to other letters. V doesn't really matter, to be honest. What you then want to do is you want to go another frame ahead and then change a bit more. And by the way, you don't have to do this for the whole sort of section. You only have to. I'd say it's best to only do it a few times, and then I think that's all you need, because it's quite sort of quick, this area anyway. It only lasts a couple of seconds or so, so you don't really have to add too much, but you know, if you want to, that's of course fine. So yeah, just have a bit of a play with it, really. Yeah, so ideally you want to make sure the letters are capital. It just looks a bit smoother. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but for me personally, it's just, I prefer that. So yeah, once you've done that just a couple of times, really, there's no need to go completely crazy. If you just come over another frame, select this second frame, so this is where it starts off, just so it sort of smoothly comes out of it, really. So yeah, make sure your move tool selected. Make sure you've selected that second frame. Hold down Control and press C to copy, and then Control and V to paste it. And then with the next layer, if you actually tell you what, yeah, if you do it in reverse at the end, so I'll show you what I mean. You basically want this layer, or keyframe, sorry. How many frames is that? So yeah, 4 frames. So yeah, if you just come right to the end, and if you come back about 4 frames, depending on how many keyframes you've chosen to use. Hang on. Might be 5, I might have it completely wrong. But yeah, so you really just want to sort of do it in reverse, really. So start off with the end keyframe, and then just sort of work your way backwards. Actually, you know what? I think I was right all along. It was 4 frames. Sorry, that was my fault. Yeah, so if you want to move more than 1 keyframe at once, as you can see, it's honestly literally just a matter of highlighting them all and dragging them all over, and that's it. So once you've got that, you then want to make this text, or just get this text back to normal. So if you select your first keyframe, which is, as you can obviously imagine, the normal text. So yeah, so once you've got that, if you just make sure you have the player head right at the beginning where you got the first keyframe, you want to highlight both of these keyframes by dragging and clicking over them, copying them, then highlighting just these 2 text layers underneath and pasting them on. So once you've done that, you then want to show them again, and if I've played my cards right, if you play it, you should see this effect with all 3 text channels or text layers without any problems. So yeah, let's have a look. So as you can see, that's worked absolutely fine. It's just a kind of quick random flash of different, just replaced characters, really. Just makes it look a bit more glitchy and a bit cooler, just as obviously all the other effects have done. So yeah, this is pretty much the effect, to be honest. But if you want to add some extra layers to it, just to smarten it up a bit, what I've done is I've added this blueprint texture. Again, I can obviously link this in the description for you to download. So yeah, if you drag and drop that into your project tab, and if you've got your, as you can imagine, you have your effect controls tab open. So if you come up to here and then drag over to the left, that should bring up your project tab. Then you can literally just drop it down here, and you're absolutely fine. So again, put that, yeah, if you put this right at the top, and for me it is a little bit too small. It might be just right for you, but yeah, because it's not exactly half the size, as I say, all you got to do, press S to scale, and just basically just make sure it's at least a little bit over the edge of the composition, and you're absolutely fine. So once you got that, you want to change the blend mode to overlay. That gives you this nice blueprint texture. I mean, it looks quite dark, but I think that's just from where I'm sort of looking at it from. I'm I think my brightness is a little too low anyway. But yeah, so that's all there really is to do now is just a little bit of colour grading. So what I quite like to do is, if you come up to layer, make sure that's selected. Yeah, so layer, new, adjustment layer again, effect, colour correction, and then come down to telemetry colour. Then you see this menu here. If you click creative, and just a quick way of doing it, I can go into a bit more of an in-depth. I can make a little bit more of an in-depth video on colour grading and colour correction if you want. But for now, this is just a sort of quick way of doing it. You just have a sort of a quite nice vast array of LUTs that you can use. So one I quite like to use, where is it? Yeah, there you go, Matrix Mars I think it is. Yeah, that's it. Doesn't do a huge amount, it's quite subtle, I just think it looks quite nice really. So then the last effect I quite like to use is something called the gradient map, and what you can do with that, it's kind of similar to colour grading in a way, because you basically choose sort of a selection of colours and then you can sort of overlay that on top of it, and just makes it look a bit more interesting. So yeah, again, if you select or make a new adjustment layer, effect, generate, and gradient map. So obviously you want to change your colours. What I quite like to do is make the top colour a kind of sort of bluish kind of colour, quite a sort of light bluish colour I quite like, and then the bottom one I'm going to choose an orange, but yeah, choose orange. So of course it's totally up to you what you want to do. It of course depends on what colours you've chosen previously, because not everything will work with everything obviously, so it's of course just a matter of experimenting really. So yeah, so for me I'm going to select a bit of a kind of a sort of golden orange sort of colour. So again, if you make that, or in fact actually if you make this one soft light, just so it's a little subtler and it's not too overpowering, and yeah, it just makes it look a bit more interesting. So that's really it, to be honest. But yeah, we might as well have a little look at it before we finish. So yeah, this is your finished intro. It should look something like this. So there you go. That's how you make a animated, glitchy sort of text intro in After Effects. I hope you enjoyed. Cheers. Oh, wait, one more thing before I finish. If you want to render it or to export it, you want to come up to Composition, click Add to Render Queue, and where it says Lossless, that will allow you to change your format. So I usually make it a QuickTime format, which is of course MOV. Click OK, and then basically you just want to choose where you want to save it, really. So yeah, that's it really. You just click save. Change that just in case it's something important. I've forgotten all about it. So yeah, you just click save and then click render, and then that will render it for you. Alright, so yeah, that's really it. Thanks for watching. Cheers.
Can I stay over for a night?
Right, you. Out. Get the fuck out of my house.
Come on, man.
It's only for one night. You said no more puns or any pointless observations.
Yeah, that's right. Do you at all recalling me making any exceptions for borderline serial killer questions like that? Do you?
No,
But nothing, mate. I don't want to hear it. I have no idea what the fuck was going through my head when I suddenly had the bright idea of letting a fucking stalker into my home.
But
here we are.
No, please, just one night. Fucking stalkers. Fuck me. 2 subscribers.
2 fucking subscribers. Is that all it takes just to get one of those weird little bastards turn up outside your house? We might have to call it a day. Go into hiding or something if this fucking carries on.
Hello? Oh, hi. I'd like to report someone, if that's okay. Yeah, it's, basically I got a bit of a stalker. He just turned up outside my door earlier today. Yep, I certainly can. It's, Jack Bonner, and that's, B-O-N-N-E-R, and my You what? You watch my videos?
Oh, for fuck's sake!